For this session, Annie. And it's good to have you here.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, I think we've got people rolling in now. So I'm going to go ahead and hopefully successfully share the correct screen before we get going. And yeah, so thank you everyone for joining today. As you probably know, today's session is all about upselling. And we've got the perfect partner to discuss that with in Annie and the host co. So yeah, today's session presented by ourselves here at Hospitable and obviously the host co, as I mentioned. Just a couple of housekeeping notes before we get started. You've probably already seen that we are recording the session and I just started a live stream. So if you have any issues at all with the Zoom connection, you can just hop on over to the Hospitable YouTube channel and you can watch live there as well. I'll also try and keep an eye on the chat and on YouTube. So if there's any questions there, I can try and bring them into the session and make sure we answer those too. We're going to kick off with a few introductions of myself and Annie, and then we're going to move into a bit of a demo of Hospitable and the host co, talk a little bit more about some tips for upselling and why you should be doing it. And then, of course, we'll have plenty of time for audience Q&A. If you do have any questions throughout the session, we do have Kevin from the Hospitable team here helping out as well. So if you want to write your questions in Q&A, he'll try and answer those as we go through. But also at the end, you'll be able to, raise your hand to come on stage to ask your question live. And we'll also try and pull some of those Q&A questions as well from the chat or any that, Kevin hasn't managed to get to. So I think we should begin, Annie. So first off, I'll quickly get my final bit out of the way, and then I can stop talking and let Annie do some talking. So my name is obviously Miles. I'm the head of marketing here at Hospitable. Hospitable, for those that don't know, was founded in 2016, and really Hospitable is a suite of tools all focused around making host lives easier. We're trying to automate the most time-consuming elements of hosting. That's calendar management, messaging to guests, messaging to cleaners, smart lock management, really, everything that's kind of, taking up admin and time and getting rid of some of those repetitive tasks from your day. That's where Hospitable comes in, basically. So hello and welcome everyone, for especially those that have never seen Hospitable before. Okay, Annie, over to you.
Hey, everybody. I am Annie Sloan from the Host Co. And I think many of you know this, but the Host Co enables hosts to connect local amenities and services to their short-term rentals. That means everything from massage and chef to rentals to on-site retail like firewood and very far beyond that we'll talk about. My background prior to the Host Co, I was in big tech. I'm in the Bay Area. I'm a Bay Area eye roll. I've been at Google. I've been embedded at Airbnb. But throughout all of that, I have been a short-term rental host. So the Host Co was built to solve the problems for, selfishly, myself and my co-founder first. He's a property manager. And then we've expanded it to there to enable everyone to offer so many different types of things in, as Miles said, a really automated way, right? The intention is, how do I spend less time on this and spend more time growing my portfolio? So I am looking forward to talking about upsells.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Annie. So I just lost my unmute button for a second there. And so if you want to find out a bit more about Hospitable or the host co, we've listed our websites here. Obviously, we'll bring those up at the end of the session as well. But if you're already kind of keen to learn more, you can, grab your phone, scan the QR code, and obviously the tab will be open and ready for you after the session. Obviously, Hospitable there, you can start off with a 14-day free trial. And the host co, Annie, offering for you to book a demo there to kind of learn more. So let's get into some of the meat of the conversation, Annie. What exactly, I've gone too far. What exactly is upselling?
So upselling, I'm going to start with what upselling is not. So upselling is not reaching out to your guests and saying, I want to sell you something. I think upsell is, we need to rebrand it, right? Upsell is the worst word for it, but upselling is offering value-added services to your guests, right? Services, amenities. Would you be interested in, or we have available? If you look at hotels, full service, big hotels make 30% on average, 30% of their revenue on upsells. Those upsells are, would you like to use the spa? Are you interested in room service, right? Would you like a better room? Oh, we have this thing for you. Oh, we have classes, we have shuttles, etc. So upselling is really providing things for your guests that also are going to cost them more money, but leave them with, oh, wow, they did that thing for me. I think we've all been there, right? You're like, oh, well, they had this and this and this. It is definitely not, it's going to be, each coffee pot is $5, right? It is definitely not, every minute of AC is $5, right? Unless you're, what we like to say is, unless you're a hostel, you shouldn't be selling low priced item to your guest. You should be saying, yeah, you can, actually you can buy that thing. Or, oh, yeah, of course you can get some merch to take home from your trip. So that is, I think, the very first thing, is making sure that it's always a value add and it never, ever feels like selling something. And the last thing I'll say on that is there's a lot of surprising things that you can upsell or that you should be upselling. So on the Hostco, we see people offering parking spaces. Hey, I've got 8 condos in downtown Chicago. I've only got 2 parking spots. Prior to the Hostco, you might not be able to automate that. You go, okay, this person's coming here, when we're going to put it on a calendar. Now you can say, great, where you can sell a parking spot, put the receipt in your window, and we'll re-inventory that every day. Upselling is even things like, hey, we're in Destin, Florida, and you need a key for the beach and everyone loses their beach key. Okay, great. Well, you lost the beach key, $25, and you will open a drawer to get another one. All the way through spa services from local people to hibachi night, right? You got a hibachi guy and everyone's coming for a family reunion. So it spans really the whole length of types of things you can offer, and most importantly, meeting your guest needs. I would say the most important upsells are the things your guests are already asking for that you right now are just saying, oh, go to this guy, or sorry, can't help you with that.
Yeah, sure. And then you've already kind of alluded to some of the benefits there, but next question is kind of, what are some of the different benefits of doing this?
Okay, well, the first seems probably pretty obvious, that revenue is a big generator for this.
Yeah.
We have property managers now at the host code that we're paying out over $10,000 a month that have a group of cabins on a lake, and they're selling firewood and late checkout, right? So there's a lot of revenue to be made. The average for us is about $300 a listing, but per month. But that is only because it seems a little low even saying it, but that is only because we also have people that are selling $10,000 a month. And we have other people who are only selling Christmas ornaments in the shape of North Carolina, and that's all they want to sell, right? So that revenue is definitely there. And you can make a whole lot depending on what it is that you want to offer. We have people who have pontoon boats for $3,000 a week, right? Things like that. The next, which isn't really apparent when you think about upsells, is the operational efficiency element. So again, if you have 8 listings, you're probably getting the same questions 8 times a day. Where can I get a massage? Or if you're in Joshua Tree, my listings are in Joshua Tree, where can I do the sound bath that everyone wants to do, right? And it's used to be, oh, let me text you, or your property manager, and using a lot of their time, I'm texting you the place to do it. Oh, they're not open. Do you know of a second place? Oh yeah, what's their phone number again? Oh, that's not the right phone number. So just all the back and forth. And for us, myself and my co-founder, a lot of why we created this was to spend less time answering these questions, right? Or it's midnight, and you can do some of this with Hospitable as well. So when I talk about late checkout, if it's working really well with Hospitable, don't switch it to Hostco, but things, that's a good example. It's midnight on a Friday night, you're out at a restaurant with your partner, and you get someone saying, oh, we're going to need a late checkout. We're going out, right? Instead of then going back and forth, you can set up a system where they will request it. It will hold their credit card info until you approve it. Or if it's a mid-stay cleaner, your cleaner approves it. It will schedule it. So taking a lot of the automation cues you see at Hospitable and just making it so you don't have to answer these questions. In that same regard, by putting upsells in front of people right when they book, by saying, yes, you can do a late checkout. Yes, you can do a massage. Yes, you can do a mid-stay clean, and having an associated cost with it, the people that aren't going to pay for it are not going to ask you anymore. Which means, let's say you had 10 people a day, 10 guests a day asking you for a late checkout. Now 2 people are going to ask for it because they're the 2 people that were going to actually pay for it or would be willing to pay for it in the first place. So it helps a lot with that just extraneous inefficiency of communication. The next one is competitive advantage. We have had rentals in Joshua Tree who've rebranded as a wellness destination. because they've added wellness amenities through the Hostco. Hey, you can get a sound bath and Reiki healing, right? They probably have one yoga mat at their property, but they've entirely rebranded in a place where there are 1,900 listings to a wellness destination. Or a competitive advantage, this is a very weird example, but it's a good one, is someone added, a property manager added a mobile tattoo artist for the week of Coachella. And I told Miles this one before. And what happens when they did that is they were able to send out an email 4 months before Coachella and say, this year at Coachella, we have added a mobile tattoo artist on demand to our properties. Probably 90% of the people that got that email opened that email about rebooking. If you send an email 4 months before Coachella that says, early birds get 20% off week of Coachella, what is the differentiator there? You know, what is the interesting part about that? Or Reiki healer on demand. So really using amenities as something that differentiates your property. It doesn't have to be included in your listing amenities. I would say that be careful with that too. If you're saying we have a pool, you are making sure they're getting that pool for free. But if you're saying we connect to on-demand services like hibachi night or et cetera, that is the type of thing that can be a differentiator. And then fourth is that better marketing content. If you are doing direct booking or rebooking, changing out your amenities per season. So let's say winter is your low season. You can say this season only we have holiday decor. And of course, there's going to be a cost associated with that. But, oh, cool. Do you remember that place? It just gives you that memory part of, remember that place that had holiday decor? Even we've heard had, and that allows people to drop their rate, maybe 3%, right? You're not doing a lot here, but you also know here, okay, we're making better marketing content and we're making more money off the amenities so we can be more competitive with our rate.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. And really, so you know, the whole point of this is that sounds like a lot of work. But the whole point is that you know, with technology, we can make it a lot easier, right? So maybe you can talk a bit more about, you know, exactly how the host code can help and how Hospitable can help in that too.
Yes, I will start by saying, I think a lot of us were already doing something like this or attempting to do something like this without automation. So, hey, I'm going to leave something on the counter, you know, leave $5 in this basket if you want to, if you know, because everyone always asks me for sunblock and we're 30 miles from a store, leave $5 in the basket or Venmo me and take sunblock out of the closet, right? It's very ineffective. And again, back to that communication thing, you just end up answering so many questions over and over and over again, right? So with the Hostco in particular, we're able to create a store from your hospitable listings and make it in about, I don't know, 30 seconds. We'll look at it. And that store is a storefront that can be shared right at the time of booking. So it's a digital store. Think about it like eBay, right? Making an eBay store, something like that. And sharing that right at the time of booking. Again, your guests are going to see everything that is available. So they're not going to ask you. And then when they want that thing, they can request it and you can say, yes, I can provide that thing. Or they can request a vendor that we've approved or you're approved. And I'm sure we will talk quite a bit about that. But it just takes care of all of that extraneous communication. And then it can also live within your hospitable ecosystem because it is being shared in your automated messages. So you can set it and forget it. You can put, this is my Hostco store. You can put it in your thanks for booking message. You can put it in 1 week before arrival message. You can put it in the check-in notes because your Hostco store is just simply a web link. It is very intentionally not an app. So it can be shared through all of your hospitable messaging, and you kind of don't have to think about it very much. And then you go, oh, I just made $600 this month. Oh, cool.
Nice. Yeah, I love it. So yeah, let's maybe get onto the demo piece because I know there's going to be tons of questions on like ideas around upselling and do's and don'ts. But let's, since we're on the topic of kind of that automation and technology and the ease of that, I'm going to hand over to you, Annie, to kind of take us through a little bit of a demo, and then you can just kind of show us that process of setting up a store and I guess some of the elements that go into it, and then that ease of automation with Hospitable too.
Yeah. So we'll start. Can you see my screen?
I can indeed. I'm sure
Wonderful.
everyone else can too.
So we'll start just by looking at a Hostco store, and then we will get into the hospitable connection for that. So a Hostco store enables you to offer all different types of things. It's extremely flexible for what you can offer. And what often happens with new users is that they will think of the 3 things that that people ask them. And then over time, having a Hostco store, they'll really start to listen to what their guests are asking for, and they'll start to add more things. They'll go, oh, you know what everyone's always asking for? Or you know what a creative upsell? You know, everyone comes here for a romantic weekend. What if we had, you know, our cleaner could put out a thing of flowers, right? Hostco stores enable you to add outside links, external links. So if you have something like everyone's always asking you about your couch and it's from West Elm, you can add an affiliate for West Elm and you can do it yourself. Like we don't even need to get involved with you making money off of any affiliate outside products. Very common things that people add to their store are things like alterations, early check-in, late checkout, and then also retail items like firewood. Firewood is a really big one. And then vendors. So there's 2 types of vendors that you can have in your Hostco store. There's your own, which we call host-owned vendors. If a good example of that is, hey, I've got a bunch of properties, beaches in North Carolina. My sister's a portrait photographer, and everyone asks for their family photos, you know, in their matching outfits. I think we all know the scene, right? You can add your sister as that vendor to your Hostco store. And when you do that, it will ping your sister. Let's say I, Annie Sloan, I'm in the North Carolina beaches, and I really want that service. And, you know, I would ask you for it, but I already know you have it. You can, your guest can request it. It will then ping your vendor. You can set it up to say, text and email my sister, the vendor, and say, Annie Sloan is looking for portrait photography on this day at this time from this house. Are you able to fulfill this? If so, you can click yes, and then we will process the funds for that guest and we will pay out the owner of that property. Same thing with a cleaner, and that's a very popular one. You can add your cleaner and it can ping your cleaner. You can add your boots on the ground property manager. It can ping them. It can ping you, obviously. We've had property managers add certain requests to their Slack channels. So there's a cleaning channel. Every single mid-stay cleaning request goes through to that Slack channel. We have had people for midterm stays add a dog walker, right? Maybe there's someone around you. For campsites, we've had people add, we will set up your fire for you. We will take down your tent for you because you're hungover on Sunday and everyone's really slow. It's helpful for us to get out of here. But those are vendors that are perhaps already in your ecosystem on your team. We've had people add extra recycling pickup because it's a bachelorette party destination and they've got these, 4 bags of bottles. I know no one wants a party, but I'd rather have a clean party than a dirty party, right? So those are your own vendors. Now, Hostco vendors, which we call local vendors, are products and services that we at the Hostco have vetted already. That means they have a cancellation policy. It means they have insurance. It means they have a business license. And we start with a bedrock of services that are generally national and very large. So we use many of the same vendors that Hilton uses for spa. We use fire, forks, and knives for chefs. And then we have over time then vetted additional vendors. And most of those vendors come through hosts because hosts will add vendors and then we'll go, oh, this portrait photographer is selling like hotcakes all along the shore of North Carolina. We're going to contact them and see if they want to be available for everyone in a 25-mile radius to see within their stores. So we not only vet those vendors, we also, particularly for newer vendors, we are a part of that process along the way. We are calling them as well and saying, how's it going? We want to make sure everything's great. So our vendors all come through our vendor support system. If you want vendors to be vetted by the Hostco, you can send them to us at vendors@thehost.co. We do have a pretty long queue of vendors, so it will take several months, right, to get those vendors on board. But also, if it's your own vendor, you will make more money than if it comes through a Hostco vendor, and I'll show you how. Obviously, there are retail items in Hostco stores. So how retail items work is most property managers or hosts will have items on site, but they are not in plain view or they're locked. And how the Hostco works is your guest only gets the information for that product on their receipt. So code to that drawer is 1234. Key to the garage, to get the, like, I don't know, whatever it is in the garage, not a car, I have to tell you that, but is available. Firewood is behind the house under a tarp. Take only one bundle. Most hosts don't sell items on site. I will say, I don't sell items on site at my own properties because, one, I live far away. Two, I just don't want to manage that. We do inventory management for you. Not only that, if it's your firewood guy, you can add him as a delegate, and your store will ping him when you're running low on firewood and say, bring out more firewood. But you probably want to be a little bit more involved with your rentals if you're going to have on-site products, or you just want to have it automated. We do have hosts who have made cabinets with different items in different cabinets that you can sell. We also have people use this for rental of things like an outdoor movie night projector. You're not going to just set that out, right? But you can have it in a closet, and you could even sell it for $1, right? You could rent it for 50 cents. But what the Hostco is going to do is going to help you manage who has had that last, and they're also signing a terms of service that say, I am putting this back where I found it, right? So it's a great way of keeping track of items in your store. I'm going to go through a couple more of these, and then we will get onto the integration, just because there are so many different types of things. Obviously, parking pass, mid-stay cleaning. We do see some pool heating, on-site items. And then you have specialty affiliates that we don't do a lot of, but things like baby equipment rental, we push that out to BabyQuip. Or we do have an AI concierge that will then help your guest book things through ticketing, Viator, et cetera. And you receive, I think, 3.5% of everything that they book. So we do have ticketing in many places, but we just don't put it at the top of the list. And I will tell you why, is because, again, back to the analog of hotels. If you look at what hotels are selling, they're not selling very many experiences because they don't book as well. And there's just too many variables, right? If you have something in your area that everyone wants to do, add it to your store, right? If everyone is coming to town to go rock climbing or bouldering, you can put that in your store. You can also find that on something like Viator and make all of the affiliate income yourself. Like, that is completely fine with us. But the things that people want are, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I am feeling lazy, and I want something wellness related. Anything wellness sells really, really well. The wellness category is almost eclipsing many of the food categories. We do have some people do grocery stocking, but I would also push that out to a third party, because I'm not gonna do the coordinating of letting a stranger into my house that is not my guest. I mean, I think most people hopefully using Hospitable for all of the automation, all of the locks, so you can have that afterwards. But grocery, I would also, unless you're going to do it yourself, I would leave that one up.
I'm just going to jump in briefly, Annie. There's a
Yeah.
good question in the chat. Kind of focus around the experience piece you kind of mentioned there, and booking experiences. Brian was asking, and I'm not sure how he'd integrated this exactly, but he is using Hostco and Hospitable together, and he's wondering, for those booking of local adventures, is there a way for him to see if someone has actually registered through the Hostco link? Can he see that it's that link that's driving the demand?
Yeah. Right now there is not, but soon there will be those analytics to see who booked. You will see a payout from that specific booking yourself. But I would always say another way to do that, which again might be easier for you or not just to see it, is you will definitely see when you can add your own products and all of these categories. You can add an external link to a booking. And again, you can sign up for any affiliate program, or of course we can do it for you, but you're going to make all of the affiliate revenue if you're adding your own experience provider.
Cool. Okay, sounds good. Sorry to stop you there.
Not at all. This store is set for like a neutral location, but in many locations where we have seen a high request for certain experiences, you will see them. I think, Brian, they may be in your store already in your area. And we just bring those on. You can see a little chat bubble down in the right-hand corner. That is where not only hosts talk to us, but guests talk to us as well. If there's anything involving from your guest that is a question about the rental, we push that off and say, please contact the host. If it is, hey, where can I get a manicure in Juneau, Alaska? we can answer that for you. And also that helps to drive what the things that we vet as well. So anything that you'll see already in your store, it's because people have been asking for it. There's one other element to that, which is you can turn anything off. Your store, if you make a new store, it will come preloaded with some alterations, and in most locations, some experiences, some local vendors, right? Every single thing can be toggled on or off. So you could say, I want one thing. I mean, again, back to the example of the person in North Carolina who just sells Christmas ornaments. And this is true. This is a real host. That's all she has in her store. But it's a great way for her to sell that one thing. You can turn everything off. You will also see right in the upper left, there's a big red welcome guidebook. That is an external link that you can add your own digital guidebook. If it's whatever platform you're using, or we see many people just using a Google Doc or a, their own website. But this is going to sound a little funny, but enter through the gift shop, right? Again, you're not selling anything. You're saying, do you want a massage? Would you like early check-in? But again, if you look at the way hotels are making money, when you walk in, you see what's available. So we see many people when they're sending out their store saying, thanks for booking. We're so excited to have you. If you'd like to add any products or services, check out like massage, chef, or mid-stay cleaning, check out our HostCo store. Within this link, you'll also find driving directions and a local neighborhood guide. And that not only is going to bring you more revenue from your upsells, but again, it's going to decrease those questions, because in so many cases, information is just nested behind this, like check it. People, as we all know, they don't read past here's the 4-digit code to get into the house. And then they come back for the Wi-Fi and they don't read anything else, right? So if you get them right when they book with just the information they need, and they can go, oh yeah, we do want that. Oh, we could get a natural wine sommelier to come to our girls' weekend for $600. Let's do it, right? So making sure you're just giving them the information right away.
Awesome. Cool.
And now we can actually look at the integration for those of you that haven't done it. So this is a HostCo store of mine. I'm just going to view all stores in this account. I only have one store on this account. You can add a store here by hitting add store and make a new store. You can duplicate a store if you have products in it by going to duplicate. Or what many people are going to do, and if you're coming through Hospitable, this will initiate immediately, so you won't even have to do this. It'll go to partners, Hospitable. There's a video walking through the entire integration if you'd like to see it, but for now, we'll just hit continue. We're going to go here. And we're going to authorize the HostCo. And the HostCo, the information, you guys just saw that dashboard. We actually don't see your reservations on the top level. We don't see any of your financials also within the HostCo. So. Oh, there seemed to be an error there. So I'm going to go to, I don't know why that would be, but we're going to go to.
That's the trouble with live demos.
I know. I'm going to do which I just did it twice, of course, and it was just fine. So I'm going to stop the share for a moment, and I'm going to show you guys. Let me do that one more time.
No worries. And there was a good question whilst you're loading it up again. The stores, we can basically do a different store for each property, right? It's not just one central store that you have to use across all properties.
Correct. So, of course, it worked that time immediately. So I'm going to share my screen again. So, of course, so what happens is I just hit connect, and this is what happened. It said fetching your properties from Hospitable, and it fetches 3 properties, as you can see here. It will make one store for every one of your Hospitable listings. So in this case, it will make a store for each listing. And as you can see, it has the zip code. Something that's really important is making sure that your Hospitable properties have an address. I actually went in it this morning and was unable to import it. And I looked, and it was because it did not have an address associated with it. So making sure that is the case. If you have any problems importing, support at thehost.co or the chatbot, we can always look into why. In my case, again, didn't have an address. So in this case, I'm going to select all of these properties, all 3 of these properties, and I'm going to create 3 stores, 3 HostCo stores. and it's going to take a long time because I'm not on my home Wi-Fi. So when this is done, you will see your Hostco stores have been created. It is pulled in all of the information, including the name of your listing, the photo of your listing, and the address of your listing, which will show you. Once this is done, you can modify your stores, which I highly recommend, to reflect prices that you'd like to have, products that you'd like to have. We recommend starting with maybe 4 items, right? Just going live with 4 items. You can add more over time, but you know, it's we see a fair amount of people getting stuck in like, oh, I need to think about this thing, or oh, I need to organize this thing. I would say dip your toes in and get it live with your guest and see the rhythm of that, right? How that goes. The great thing is with almost all of your products, they're request and approve. So all of these items is going to send you a request. It's not going to say massage therapist showing up in 20 minutes at this house, right? So go in and modify these, as you can see, and then we'll hit share in the upper right-hand corner. And that will give you the unique URL for each of your properties. So we will look at that. And then the last thing is going back into Hospitable and adding that property. So here we have a bunch of stores that were just created via Hospitable. And I'm going to go into Starlight Estates. Great news, you're ready to sell. I mean, you can share that link now if you'd like. And your store is just going to be auto-populated with all of those alterations. Every single product is editable. You can change the name, extra guest per day. You can change the price. You can change the category. You can change the product description. Your guest is going to see this product description. As you can see, we have added default language that says this is not approved. We need cancellation. I would always include any cancellation policies with your stuff. This is the magic of every product. Again, you don't have to go through all of this, but this is where all the fun bells and whistles are. Is it available immediately after purchase? No, I need notice ahead of time. This is when you might say, I need 24 hours notice, right? Your guest won't be able to click on today on a calendar if you say I need this much, or let's just say 2 days. Does it require approval? Yes. How many do you have? If you're selling things on site or if it's firewood, et cetera, you can do inventory management. We can notify you when it's running low. Delegates, you want to notify someone else. You could have 6 people on this list if you really want 6 people to know or be able to approve a requested late checkout. So I'm just going to hit save changes on here. And in this store, you'll see, this is a real property of mine. It has bagel delivery. It says design and decor. I mean, there's tons of stuff in this particular area because it's in Joshua Tree. You can go through and turn things off. You're going to see the most stuff in this area of anywhere, right? Chefs, etc. But again, you can go ahead and turn it off. Of course, it's Joshua Tree. There's Reiki, there's yoga, there's hikes, etc. And when you're ready to share your store, go ahead, back up to the top, and you can hit share store. And that's going to give you a link to your store. It's also going to give you template messages of what we say to our guests. Again, the best things here, I'll share these real quickly, is include what you're selling. So if you say, hey, if you'd like any amenities or services, nobody knows what amenities or services are, right? So the things like the greatest hits of what people are going to want. Hey, we're so excited to have you stay. If you'd like any extra services like a shuttle to Coachella, right? Or a massage, etc. Put that in your description because that is what is going to get people to click, right? Again, you'll see these messaging templates, and then the most successful hosts will share this message in their thanks for booking email 1 week before arrival. That is the winner chicken dinner. Hey, you're 1 week out. We're so excited to have you stay. If you'd like to book any services or amenities like spa, chef, or more, head on over to our store because people are thinking about it. And that's enough lead time. Many vendors will not do less than 3 days of a lead time for something that's a good product, right? So we'll look at that. You can see here, here's the store link. This store link can be included in messaging. It can be texted. It can be WhatsApp to your guest, you name it. And here we have a bunch of templates for what we say in these messages. We not only have these, if you'd like to look at them, we have way more of them on our website as well. But we're going to go to, I'm just going to copy the link. And then I'm going to click on Hospitable. Miles, I'm sorry that it's not the first one up there for a demo.
We got to work on that. We got to work on that, Annie.
And then you add it to your, it's in properties, and you guys probably all know this, or is it in properties and details? So I'm going to go into this Starlight Estates here, details, and I'm going to scroll down to that upsells. As you guys can see here, that upsells link. And I'm going to add my URL for that specific store. So then what's going to happen is that is a live link. It's very hard to see, you know, if you're a random person, and there's no SEO on these. So people cannot find our stores on Google unless you send them the link, or if they've gotten a link from someone else, or they're guessing at numbers. So just to let you know, it's not like people are out there seeing these. You can save that. And then when you add information to a message, you can just hit that upsell short code, and it will include the link to your store. We are doing an update to this where it will automatically, when you create a store, add your URL to this upsell box. But it's going to be probably a few weeks from now. So until then, this is the best way to do it, and it's still quite easy. And then you can just use that as you'd like. Anytime that upsell short code, you can also use that for custom replies. That's a really great one too, because again, at midnight, you're going to get someone saying, oh my gosh, we're interested in this thing. And you can go, great, look at my store. And the really fun thing about that is in your store, we're going to go back to that really, really quickly. When someone buys something in your store, it's going to probably log me out to do this. This is what your store looks like. It's going to take a moment because again, so this is what your store looks like. This is what your store looks like to guests. It is optimized for mobile. So it looks pretty simple here, but your guest is going to see this. I'm going to log out so we can see the rest of it. Let's say your guest goes, okay, I'm pet fee, right? They have to read and agree to your description. Anything that you put in here, they have to say, I've read and agree to this. The requested date of service here. Okay, cool. Well, I can only do this. There's no lead time on this. You can see it says lead time. They can leave a requested time of service. You can also on any product add additional modals. So what t-shirt size is it? Or if you are a boutique hotel or you want one store and 10 listings, you can say listing number, or you can say address of rental, right? You can add anything you want and it will be required for your guest to include that information. You can also say, hey, if you're allergic to lilies, this isn't for you, right? Anything you want to add, and they can also add information there. They can also add, you can sell things by the hour, right? Late checkout by the hour. You can sell things by the day, etc. And then when they add it to their cart, you're going to see that there are additional recommended products. So the great thing is your guests, again, back to that, oh, we can get a natural wine sommelier. Oh, cool. The other thing is if you want to, excuse me, my dog, of course, just yelled. You can send an individual product. So we'll go back to that. From here, you can say, share the unique product linked. So if you only want your guests to see one product, you can send them that thing as well. And I think that is everything on our side. Miles, do you have anything to add? And then we can take questions.
No, I think you did an awesome job there of demonstrating it for us. I think Wendy in the chat was amazed that didn't know the property details that upsell hidden down there. So that's awesome. And obviously, yeah, you know, the idea with this is to use your messaging rules to be able to send out that upsell short code automatically for you. And so that's a great way of doing it, is building it into kind of those pre-check-in messages, but also during the stay as well. So I think we can kind of go over to some of the Q&A because we've had a ton of questions coming in, Annie. Kevin's trying to keep up, but quite a few are Hostco specific. So we're going to have to ask them to you. So really starting off is around that recommendation of when do we send the code? Is there a specific time frame and number of times that you typically would suggest that hosts are sending this to guests?
I would say 3 would be the best. Also, of course, automate this through Hospitable so you never have to think about it again, and say, send this directly after booking with my thank you for booking notes. 1 week in advance of the stay. And I would say, you're going to send them information about getting into the house. I would send your third one maybe an hour after check-in time. You can send it with your check-in notes, but the hit rate is not going to be as high reading it. We also, as you'll see here, should you want to have it, our platform creates custom signage for every store. So you can put that in a printed guidebook. You can add it to fridge magnets, which we can tell you where to get those fridge magnets. You can add it to anything you'd like to add it to. So some people do use QR codes in the rental, but for products, again, that generally don't need a pre-order, or if they're staying there for a longer amount of time, we have people that have this in their midterm stay rentals, and they offer things like linen refresh. They offer weekly cleaning. They offer a new basket of cleaning products, right? Things like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. And then there was a question earlier about being able to do different stores for different properties, but some people are actually asking the reverse as well. So is it possible to have one store for, 10 properties to kind of ease the setup process there, or
Yes.
at least be able to kind of duplicate settings and vendors across between different stores?
Yeah. So we do have people who do one store per city. So they might do, I don't know, Johnson Properties, Orlando, right? Or Pigeon Forge. And in that case, they do ask the guests for those products they have a box that says listing name or listing number. The only downside with that is one, if you have products on site, you're not managing your inventory. Two, you're also not seeing your sales. It's one store, so you're seeing your sales across. It's a big lump sum. There's a really easy way to duplicate a store, and I would always recommend personally doing a store per listing, because you can just do this. My Zoom's in the way. Duplicate store. And it's just going to copy it. It's going to copy every possible thing in your store. I think maybe some of the affiliate link might not copy, but your welcome guide, every single thing that you set, the price and the directions, it will copy all of that. So you just need to change the store, and you need to say, obviously it's just going to say copy, but if you want to say the Big Blue Barn, right, and make more stores, we do have people that have a store for different types of properties. So we have someone with 400 properties, and they have a luxury store for their expensive properties with literally the fancy dog walker, because they said, WAG is not good enough for us. We also have people who do what we call secret stores, or the I'm sorry stores. So you can have a store that you can use, oh, we're so sorry the elevator's out, or we're so sorry, like, the house was a mess because the cleaner didn't show up. Hey, if you'd like a free late checkout on us, or, it's an $8,000 a night Tahoe property, 2 massages on us. Why don't you go to our I'm sorry store, right? So you can share not only secret products, but secret stores. And then we also have people that use the HostCo. I've only seen this recently, but for really big properties, for offering to tip. And we had a host recently say to us, I can't believe this is true. He said, I lowered my nightly rate because I am now getting cleaners for my tip. So my cleaner is happier. So she lowered the rate slightly because it's a huge property, and she's much happier, right? So you can also send the store out post, but that's just an interesting way. And you can have stores, again, you can create a store. You can hit this add store button, and you can make a store. You don't have to import it. You can make it, and you can have it for specific things, right? Or once a year things, etc. Any type of store you want, you can make here.
Awesome. That sounds good.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to ask you the next question. Then I'm going to run and sort out my dog, because my dog's barking like crazy now. It's heard yours through the screen somehow.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kind of group together a few questions in one here, really, because we've got multiple questions around kind of financials. So how can we, track financials on this and how performance is going? Can you break down kind of the percentage for a host-owned store, or a host-owned vendor, I should say, versus one that's brought on by the HostCo, and then kind of commission, taxes, and subscription costs, basically all in one?
Yeah. So you can see here, we'll just start with this. You can see your sales per month. right here. This is a test store, so don't get freaked out. And then you can see in each store as well your sales tab right here, sales, and it will show you everything. It will show you the sale number, the guest name, the date of purchase, how much they paid, how much profit you made, and also what they bought and the price per item. Each of these also has a receipt. So you can always see deeper into here, the receipt. Kind of a fun trick is if you are doing direct booking, you also have their email. So, and it might not be the person that booked it. In terms of money and the money you make. So we will go back to just the store and we'll look at a product. If you are on a HostCo subscription, which the basic subscription is called Pro, it's $19 a month. We don't take any commission on your products. So you are selling a late checkout for $50, you are getting $50. How we make money is the subscription, which is quite low because we also cover all of the Visa charges. We have an 8% convenience fee that your guest pays. So when your guest goes to check out, you can even see here when we look at a guest view, I will go ahead and check out here. Again, it might take a moment. When they do a late checkout, or again, we'll just say early check-in, they're going to get, we're not going to do that product because it's 1 cent. We'll do this. They'll see that convenience fee in their checkout screen. If there is applicable sales tax, which is generally for products and not services per state, they'll also see a line for sales tax, which is probably a question that will come up, I think, in this demo. They're going to add it to their cart. I'm going to log out and show you what that looks like and say, great. The checkout is through Stripe, which most of you use Stripe. That's also how we do payout, is ACH to you through Stripe. You'll see the subtotal. You'll see our convenience fee. If you're on a subscription, you will get 100% of your sale, and we add that 8% fee. If you are on a free model of the HostCo, we get a 7% commission on the sale. So it's going to be $3.50 that the HostCo will get, and you'll walk away with the rest. If you're on the free model for the HostCo, when you set your price, there's a little button next to it that says you make. So we are doing the math for you so you don't have to. Great, I'm going to walk away with this much money because you're getting 7% of that fee. Mm-hmm. There are higher levels of subscription, and the reasons why people would go to higher levels is because you can do things like pay out to multiple bank accounts. So you can set one property, one bank account, one property, one bank account. We can also custom brand stores. You can see this one actually does not have a HostCo logo on it, and it has the name of the property management company. It also has a URL of the property management company on the top rather than HostCo. Emails, support emails will come from HostCo, but it'll include the name of the company, the property management company, your logo, your URL, especially for all the support stuff. So that's the general stuff. Many people will start on the free model, and then they'll go, oh, well, I just did 3 late checkouts or 4 late checkouts. It's cheaper for me to be on the subscription and just keep all of my revenue.
Awesome. That sounds good. And sorry, I'm just keep firing loads of different questions here, Annie.
Great.
We've got a very engaged audience, which is fantastic. Thank you, everyone. Michael, sorry, actually, no, not Michael. I'm reading the wrong name there. So basically the question was, and I've lost it now. What is the kind of the typical revenue that hosts see for this? And I know it's a difficult question to answer, but for someone on the fence, how do they decide if whether to take the leap and put in a little bit of effort to kind of get started?
Yeah, I would say it's not worth it if you're not making very much money. I mean, it's worth it, but you're make it worth your while, right? The average is about $200 to $300 a listing, but that is a very low average. I just want to be transparent because many people are making way more than that. We have a property manager making almost $11,000 a month on firewood and late checkouts. And then we have people that are selling Christmas ornaments, right, for $5 each, but it's a way for them to sell them over time. We actually have co-working spaces that use this as well, that sell things on site as their kind of little store. So it really depends. We had the other day a sale one guest bought $3,600 in amenities. It was 4 massages, a chef's dinner for 8, and a guided hike. And how that works is if it is a host co recommended vendor, you as the property manager or host are going to get 5 to 10% of that revenue, even though you're not doing anything, right? We just mark up the cost and we pay it out to you, right? If it is your own product, you're setting the price of that product and you're keeping the money from that product. So again, let's say your sister is a portrait photographer in North Carolina beaches and everyone wants portrait photography. You can sell that for $500 and pay your sister $200 just to be like your poor sister, but you're setting the price of those things because it's your vendor or your product. You are also, if it is your own vendor, you are paying out that vendor yourself, which is a question that comes up sometimes. So for example, mid-stay cleaning, very popular service. Your cleaner is going to invoice you at the end of the month and they're going to say, I did 3 mid-stay cleans, right? The reason why we won't pay out your vendors at this point is because we have not vetted them. So you are responsible for your own vendors because again, the guest service, the guest experience is very, very important. And we are very, very, very selective with the people that we bring on. And obviously, because you're a property manager, guest experience is your job, right? You're going to be selective as well, but that is you are managing your own vendors.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And then just kind of a timely question came in there. What happens if a guest is unhappy with a service provided? Who do they contact?
Generally, they contact us with the chatbot right there. They also have received several emails from us at that point. The first one they receive, if it's a request, is your request has been sent to the host. If it's approved, your request has been approved. And then they get an email if it's our vendor from the email, or they get a phone call saying, great, I'm your massage therapist. Is there anything I need to know, et cetera, et cetera. If it is something that is your vendor, we say, hey, we're going to ping the host right now for you. We have your phone number. If it is our service, we immediately, the guest is clearly always right. So it is very, very rare because we work with professional companies. But for example, we had a massage therapist who was in West Hollywood and they couldn't find a parking spot. And they circled and circled and circled and they didn't call the guest, which we don't work with them anymore, but we just immediately refunded the guest and we said, we're going to find someone else for you right now. So we have a support team that is there to help guests as well. It's generally pretty low instances because of the vetting process and because if it's your vendor, you know they're going to be good or you're not going to put them in your store. I would say that. Like, don't have a college student setting up a picnic for somebody if you haven't worked with them before, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Awesome. And then just a couple of quick questions on some of the different options. And I think these are quick and easy ones. Have you had anyone adding EV charger usage on there? And also Amazon influencers storefront links?
Yes, both of the above. EV charging for sure. I didn't know it would do that. We also, interestingly enough, have seen items that break. So that is not EV charging, but as one that I would have never thought of is people are always breaking my wine glasses. Put 2 wine glasses in there and say restocking fee. Then you don't have to go through the entire, if it's Airbnb, annoying process of trying to recoup funds. We've had people say, oh, you lost our 2 beach towels at the beach. Okay, here you go, $25. And you just don't have to go through that entire long process to do so. So it's pretty fun for me at the end of the day. I don't let myself look till the end of the day. The different types of sales and the creativity of hosts is mind-blowing. It's really cool.
That's cool. All right.
Yeah.
And then a very key question here from Lance. So the OTAs, so online travel agencies, like Airbnb and Vrbo, they don't mind you sending a link through their platform like this?
No, thus far, no. And I don't think that'll be happening. It is the same thing with a different PMS as well. It's the same type of linking. And if you're sending it through Hospitable, you're sending it through your Hospitable messaging as well. But I've worked at Airbnb. We have a lot of advisors at Airbnb and post Airbnb, and they are very friendly to this because this is a lot of things that they cannot do for policy reasons, right? They can't say, we're going to recommend Uber over Lyft because they're a massive, massive company. So they see this as something also that you know, say what you will about how they're doing for hosts, but it's something that is improving the experience for hosts.
Yeah, it's non-competitive to Airbnb as well, right? And they're not currently offering that same kind of upsell process. Awesome. So try and squeeze in a last few more questions in the final few minutes from folks. So good question on how do folks add their own vendors to the portal? And also, do vendors themselves get a portal so that they can manage their product at all?
So we'll talk about the vendors first. Vendors do not have their own portal, and that's also very intentional. We think about it like the Microsoft App Store versus the Apple App Store. We don't allow vendors to add themselves to our portal or change things on us, right? They could say, oh, now it's $700 and it's in a different city and it's a different person. So we manage those relationships ourselves with our vendors to make sure they are very high quality. Adding a product. Here's the really fun part. You can see here, there's this add product link, and there's also something next to it that's quick add. So there are tons of products in here that you can say, it has a picture, it has a price, it has a description. You probably want to go in and fix it, but there's tons of stuff in here that people do. Broken wine glass, breakfast, extra linens, extra coffee, right? If they've gone through 5 bags of coffee, luggage storage, but adding your own product and adding another person to it. Let's say it's a guest service, right? We're going to say it's, we're going to do mid-stay clean. Let's say you're going to add that, right? You can set the price again, and you can change the categories aren't really that important, but sometimes guests like to sort, and you can filter in a store category. What we're going to do is we're going to hit next on this. And this is where you add delegates. So, I need notice ahead of time. I need 4 days. It requires approval. Yes, we do not want that to just go through. We want it to ping us. The thing with approval as well is Stripe, who is our financial partner, will hold your guest credit card information for 7 days. So if you, like a mid-stay clean, you might not know, right? Because you're only going to know the day before. You can just say, hey, can you request this closer to the date? Or you can send them a link for that product closer to the date. But their credit card information does expire for obvious legal reasons after 7 days. So you want to approve it. Also, you'll see an approval dashboard. So if you have 6 approvals waiting for you, you will get an email, but you can just go to your dashboard and say approve, 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 or deny, right? This is where, do you want to notify anyone else about this product? You can add anyone, right? They will be able to approve or deny the product, and they will see the sale of that product. So anyone you want to add here, you could add 10 people. I wouldn't recommend it. You can also add SMS carrier. It's not exactly texting, but if you do your phone number at like text.att, it will ping you on your phone as well. But that is where you add, and you can also delete people from that as well, add and delete folks.
And then you kind of touched on there the kind of the approval process. In terms of a kind of approval for things like early check-in requests, if say someone's asking for an early check-in very early in advance, 7 weeks before you know if an early check-in is possible, will you kind of get reminded of that beforehand, that this guest has asked for such a request?
Not currently, but that is on our roadmap is, hey, they requested this in advance. So really far in advance, no. You will, however, if it is booked in advance, you will get an email reminder 48 hours before the service to say, hey, reminder, you're giving them this, this, and this. But right now, if it's really far in advance, you basically have to say, hey, check in again closer to the time.
Awesome. And then I'm going to give you one more question, and then I think I've got someone here that I'm going to point your way that's a good lead for getting more vendors on the system.
Oh, wonderful.
The question, it's kind of 2 questions in one. So really the question is around one store for multiple properties. So basically as a way of managing multiple locations with different addresses, and how does that get sent out to a vendor per se? Or how do you, manage inventory across different properties, potentially if you're using one store?
Yeah, well, vendors, so what happens if it's your vendor or even our vendor? when a guest requests something, you can also do things that are not requests, like firewood. You don't need to get pinged. You could just say buy it, right? Let's say it's again a mid-stay clean, or let's do the photography example. Sister the photographer, right? When that link is approved, an email goes out to that vendor with the name, hey, Annie Sloan, this is her email, this is her phone number, this is her name, this is her location. So you can request, again, your guest to add that information. Here's her allergy information. Your vendor should know, and our vendors know, contact them immediately or contact them to confirm this, or if you have any questions, because otherwise, if the vendor doesn't communicate with that person, there's so many things like, oh, there's no parking, or it's on a really steep hill, or, it's for an engagement party, go around to the side door. There's always something additional that should be communicated to the vendor, and you shouldn't have to be in the middle of that. So the vendor gets all of the information for that guest, and can also call that guest and say, hey, I'm your vendor. I'm bringing over the birthday cake. Is there a time you want me to bring it over? So you can take yourself out of that completely. If you have one store, if you have one Hostco store for a whole city, right? Again, it's very useful if you're only using our local vendors. It's pretty easy. But if you are selling firewood per se, you can see in your sales, this store doesn't have anything in it, but you can download a CSV of all your product sales and all of your other sales. You can zap that over to QuickBooks. You can send it to your bookkeeper every month. Do whatever you want with it, but it will detail for you which store. But it's totally up to you. I actually switched. I was like, oh, just one store. And as a co-founder, even I'm playing with this, right? But I found it so easy to make one link per store. And then you also see cumulative sales. You see what people are requesting, if they're getting it or not, right? So you're seeing like, oh, this store is doing really, really well. It also, you can do it both ways, but it's fun to experiment, right? If you're like, we're going to put damaged items in this one store and see how it does versus another store, or we're going to put a bunch of wellness stuff in this one store just to kind of have fun with the different sales.
Sweet. I love it. I'll just kind of wrap it up here. So Gabrielle asked though, StayFi, Hostco, and Hospitable, do they all work together? I'd certainly StayFi and Hospitable work very well together. I know that. Annie, from your perspective, does Hostco play nice?
Yes, we actually just finished an integration with them. So if you're using StayFi for your homepage dashboard, there is a big old button in there that says add a Hostco store to your homepage. So when your guest signs in, if it's before their stay or during through their Wi-Fi, they're going to see your Hostco store right there. And the integration even goes further than that with StayFi, is that you can now, if you have really top selling products, you can add a tile for that top selling product in your StayFi dashboard. And it can take your guests right to that product. As I showed you guys, you can do links to individual products, or we recommend just taking them to the whole store, because if everybody needs that product. I have a really funny example, and I know we're way over time, but we have someone in Death Valley, and I was laughing because they were selling chapstick. And, I always say, like, don't sell anything under $20. And they said to me, we are in the driest place, one of the driest places on earth. People will pay $50 for chapstick, and they are 40 miles from a store, right? If everybody needs to buy chapstick, sell chapstick and show them the late checkout at the same time.
Yeah, awesome. Love it. Yeah. Okay, I think we will have to wrap it there, Annie. I will say there's someone in the chat basically suggesting that you should also have a page on your website that promotes the value of the host code to vendors to encourage more vendors to get on board. And so they can help onboard more vendors too. So that's a good tip for your marketing team.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion.
Yeah, awesome. And then if anyone wants to find out more about the Hostco, because we've had plenty of questions on the Hostco, where do they go, Annie?
You can go to thehost.co. And you can sign up there. You can go through the Hospitable Marketplace and get to us. The other really fun thing, if you want to look, is on our website. At the very top, there is a way where you can enter your zip code and you can see what vendors are already available in your area, which that's a really fun one. If you don't see any there, you can also email us and say, hey, add more vendors in this area. But thehost.co is where you can find us.
Sweet, awesome. And then I've just brought up the QR codes. Hopefully that's visible. Again, if you want to find out more, and obviously if you want to find out more about Hospitable, you can head to hospitable.com. If there's any questions on how to get any of that kind of automated messaging piece set up to be able to insert your upsell code, just go to help.hospitable.com. If you search upsell or the Hostco in our help center, you'll be able to find an article with all the instructions to kind of go through those steps that Annie's talked about today. Sweet. Annie, thank you so much for joining us. I think that's been an excellent session.
Thank you. This was very fun.
Sweet. Awesome. And thank you so much to our audience for joining us. Thank you, Kevin, in the chat for helping out. And yeah, we'll hopefully see you next time for our next event, folks.